Hello and welcome to the next in our Bible study series on women of the Bible. This week we're returning to the New Testament and returning to two mothers, in particular mothers of some of the apostles of Jesus, his closest followers and confidants. We'll be looking at these two mothers in part, of course, to learn some lessons from them and see what we can apply to our own lives. But also it's good, I think, just to spend some time looking at characters that certainly I haven't spent a lot of time in my Bible study thinking about, and just looking at their experiences and thinking for a short space of time about what it was like for them to live in such close proximity to Christ, and about their followership, and about all of the ways in which we can see Christ through their interactions. The first mother that we're looking at is the mother of James and John, Zebedee's wife. They're referred to as the sons of Zebedee. So when Jesus taught his disciples, this mother of James and John, I'm sure she no doubt listened with pride in her two sons. These two sons seemed like they were kind of naturally talented and certainly dedicated to the Lord. And even within the apostles, I think it's clear that they were included in Jesus' inner circle. James, from all we can gather, was a born leader. Acts 12:17, Acts 15:13 show this. Likewise, John, he was commonly called the disciple whom Jesus loved. John 13 and verse 23. So this mother's pride, it also included human ambition. And we have in our text today from Matthew chapter 20 and verses 20 and following, the occasion where she knelt before Jesus requesting special favours. I'm sure there's not a mother on earth who does not have pride in their children and does not have ambition for their children. I don't think it's necessarily a wrong thing at all. Children need to be motivated, they need to have goals, they need to know that they can achieve things, be given confidence, be given direction. I think it would be quite strange if mothers had no ambition at all for their children, no desires to see them grow and flourish and develop and achieve. The 3 times Jesus had foretold that he would be condemned to death, then rise the 3rd day. Yet at the crucifixion, most of his disciples deserted him, proving that they had probably only heard him selectively. They heard only the promise that his followers would sit on thrones. Matthew 19 and verse 28. And again, there's nothing new in this. Right throughout the 2,000 years since Christ, people have been selectively hearing him. And we do well to hear him fully and not selectively, and not just the bits that appeal to us. It's possible James and John may have urged their mother to speak, but neither they nor their mother understood the basic requirements of spiritual responsibility. At least not yet, not in this moment. Jesus listened to her request, but he posed his question to her sons. You can read also in Mark chapter 10 and verse 36. He says, "You do not know what you ask. Are you able to drink the cup that I am about to drink, and be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with?" Matthew 20 and verse 22. They assured him, perhaps overconfidently, probably out of ignorance, that they were. And Jesus proceeded to teach them and their mother elementary truths about servant leadership. Jesus did not reject this mother's request for her sons, but rather he corrected it in an unexpected way. In verse 23 and also verse 26. So many books are written on leadership. How many of them include the idea of servanthood, of sacrificial service, of emptying oneself out? And the Bible does. Christ does. This woman, this mother of James and John, she undoubtedly loved the Lord passionately. She joined the women who attended him. She's thought to be Salome, not to be confused with Salome, Herodias' daughter, that we looked at a couple studies ago. If we look in Matthew 27 and verse 56, also Mark chapter 15 and verse 40. She was one of the inner circle of women who attended to Jesus, including following him to the cross and to the grave. Her highest fulfillment was to give her 2 sons to Christ, and the influence of a godly mother is certainly evident in those sons. But, like many believers, she failed to grasp the essence of greatness, true humility. To follow him is not to be placed with great privilege and separated out and on the right hand in the throne. Rather, to follow him is to take up one's cross. Luke 9 verses 23 and 24. Salome teaches us the importance of imitating Christ, who did not come to be served, but to serve. Mark 10:45. This brings us to one of Salome's contemporaries, a fellow mother of a fellow apostle, that of Mary, mother of James. Now, this Mary is different from Mary, the mother of Jesus. She's different from Mary of Magdalene. The James there is sometimes referred to as James the Less or James the Younger. She's also referred to as Mary, the mother of James and Joseph. And Joseph is also referred to Joseph. Sometimes Mary is referred to as Mary of Clopas. It can be quite a parlour game in biblical scholarship to distinguish all of these characters and to find out all of their interrelationships and really definitively mark who they are. The Gospels certainly mention them, but sometimes some of the details aren't necessarily sketched in fully, nor do they have to be. If you want a definitive answer on all of these questions, I'm sure Daniel Smith would be more than happy to provide such a clarifying answer. Meanwhile, I'll just push on with looking more broadly at their impact and what we can learn from Mary, the mother of James, as opposed to Zebedee's wife Salome, the mother of James and John. So Jesus had many behind-the-scenes followers. All 4 Gospels describe a group of women who were devoted to special ministries to the Saviour. These women served, supported, and even travelled in order to prepare the way for Jesus and the 12. Mary, the mother of James the Younger and Joseph, was one of these women. In fact, she was one of the few followers, mostly who were women, and I think that's quite remarkable and significant, who did not desert Jesus at the cross. She remained for the entire tragic ordeal. Imagine the wrenching of her heart as she helplessly watched the hideous torture, humiliation, and crucifixion of the one that she had come to know as so understanding and so gentle. Staying behind when the crowds left the death scene, she and a few of this loyal group followed Joseph of Arimathea as he took Jesus' body to the tomb. Though they saw him die, they could not let him go. Not yet. They needed to know where his body would rest. After the Sabbath, these women spent hours gathering the spices used for burial. Right to the end, they still served him. With heavy hearts, they got up early in the morning, packed the spices, and trudged toward the tomb. When they arrived, there was an eerie silence, and not the silence of death, but rather of wonder. The tomb was open and empty. God had honoured these faithful women in a special way. At the lowest point of Christianity, Mary and her companions, including, as I say, Salome, who had, in a moment of rashness, asked for special privileges for her son, but who nevertheless continued to serve Jesus and continued to show servanthood and humility, I think. But she, and also Mary and this other small group of women, they were the first to receive the news that in the end revolutionized the world. Composers, writers and artists through the centuries have celebrated the message that they alone heard that morning. That message of He is risen. So Mary and Salome are prime examples of the reward of faithfulness. Every act of service done for the Master counts. Many thanks.